We were joined by Professor Mohammed Rali Badissy from Penn State Dickinson Law, where he has incorporated peer assessment with Critic, and he shared what he felt his students gained through the process that will prepare them better for their future careers in law.
It gets you to the point of acknowledgement of deficiencies a lot faster. Because it may take one or two professor graded exercises. Maybe the first time I think, oh, the professor was just hard on me this time. And maybe they say the second time, they're just being arbitrary. Yeah, third, fourth time in, they're probably going to recognize that if the professor has told me the same thing 3 or 4 times, they probably really mean it, right? I feel like we got there a lot faster in the semester because after just 1 or 2 peer review exercises where multiple voices were telling them oftentimes consistent feedback, they were more quick to realize sort of areas of improvement. And then I think, I don't know this confidently, but at least they had the opportunity to act on it sooner in the learning process.
We know that peer assessment might not come easy or right away for students, and there might be disputes and challenges along the way. And while challenges has this negative connotation, those are really, in fact, great learning opportunities for students. And as Professor Badissy shares, they can help simulate some of those real-world experiences students will face after graduation.
9 times out of 10, the sentence would appear, I agree with the criticism of your peers. I agree with the feedback you received. I agree with their point that you missed a key point. I agree with their point that you used terms incorrectly. I agree with their point that you sort of wrote about something, you wrote so much on it that I can't quite tell what the real answer is, or you wrote your sort of the sort of kitchen sink approach. And so that was actually reassuring for me. I don't know how reassuring it was for the students, but the fact that even when somebody felt that they were being unfairly criticized, I actually find myself being more closely aligned with those providing the feedback than the person receiving it. I think to me conveys what you're trying to say, which is this is good feedback. It is likely what they're going to experience later on. So get used to it now.
In terms of that real world application, students aren't just writing or composing their work for one audience, their professor. They have to compose their work with more universality. They have to anticipate a diverse audience. And this is a great skill, particularly in the profession of law, where you have to eliminate or as close as possibly eliminate any chance of ambiguity in the writing so that it's clearly understood by anyone who might encounter it.
Their ability to recognize not just, hey, there's a mistake here that somebody pointed out, but the mistake arises from the natural human condition of perceptual differences. I interpreted term to mean X. It obviously means X to me, but somebody else read it and they saw Y. That's an ambiguity. Even if I don't agree with the ambiguity, I don't think it's actually ambiguous. That doesn't really matter as a lawyer because somebody else is consuming that information. Somebody's going to read that treaty and enforce it. Somebody's going to read that contract, and execute it. And so an appreciation for that difference and the fact that the existence of that difference of opinion is not in any way demeaning to you, it's an opportunity to make yourself that much more effective. If I resolve that ambiguity, my piece of writing is that much better all of a sudden. Even if I don't think it's ambiguous, the fact that somebody else sees it that way means it could be better. And so that's a very real skill, sort of the constant refinement that happens in practice that I think is important. The ability to acknowledge and resolve ambiguity is a very marketable skill in the sort of the field that I sometimes prepare students to go into.
As Professor Badissy shares, there's not just one aspect that really comes away from this experience. It's the collection of experiences and the collection of skills that students are able to develop through the process of peer assessment.
Students just building sort of a comfort, a resiliency with the act of being criticized and the act of providing sort of criticism. All those skills together, I can now see added up to more than I was able to do using the strategies of teaching and the technology I was using before.